It is as if a man going on a journey summoned his slaves and entrusted his property to them. It is going to be easier to understand this troubling parable if we understand that it is a continuation of the gospel that we heard last week. The gospel that we heard last week was the parable of the wise and foolish bridesmaids. The foolish ones didn't have enough oil to keep their lamps lit, and so they had to go out and buy more. And when the wedding banquet started, they didn't get in. And Jesus ends that parable by saying, "Keep awake, therefore, for you know neither the day nor the hour." And then he goes on and says, "It is as if a man going on a journey summoned his slaves." So here in this parable, Jesus is talking about what it means to keep awake. He's giving the instructions about keeping awake. And he's describing what keeping awake entails. And as I read it, apparently keeping awake is not about going to confession every week, and it is not about staying pure, and it is not about never uttering a curse word or doing any of those other things that we understand to be sins. It's something else. Keeping awake has to do with what you do with what you've been given. And the slaves in this story, they have been given talents. We understand talent today to be something like having a nice singing voice or being able to make a flaky pie crust. But originally, the word talent goes back to a Greek word. It describes weight. It's about weighing things. A talent at the time of Jesus referred to a specific weight of gold, and it was considered a unit of currency, but the weight in gold was so great that you would not be carrying it around in your pocket. A laborer, like the people who heard this parable the first time, a laborer would have to work 16 years to earn the value of a talent. And the first hearers would have recognized that. And that, my brothers and sisters, is where this parable starts to get interesting. Because we are talking here about time. We're talking about a lifetime. The slave who was entrusted with one talent was given 16 years of working life. And the one who got 2 talents was given 32 years of working life. And the one with the 5 talents was given 80. We can all do the math. And that reminds us of what we heard in our psalm. The span of our life is 70 years, perhaps in strength, even 80. Yet the sum of them is but labor and sorrow, and for they pass away quickly, and we're gone. So this message for us is the question, what should we be doing with this life that we've been given? What should we be doing with this life that we've been given? Because it wasn't ours to begin with. Our lives have been entrusted to us, and we are expected to make some of them. Because someday, and we know not the day nor the hour, the Master wants them back with interest. So the message for us is take some risks and don't live your lives buried in the ground. Take some risks and don't live your lives buried in the ground. And remember that what you have, what you've earned, it wasn't yours to begin with. And we have a sacrament for that. We have a sacrament, which is an outward and visible sign of the inward and spiritual grace that what we have wasn't ours to begin with. You won't find this sacrament in the Book of Common Prayer. You could maybe find it in the canons of the Episcopal Church because I am required to teach you about stewardship. This outward and visible sign of the inward and spiritual grace that what we have wasn't ours to begin with is a sacrament that you can do yourself. You don't need me as you need me for a baptism or as you need me for communion. This is a sacrament, a do-it-yourself sacrament. And the outward sign is the offering of your substance to God. I tell people, and I believe firmly, that giving to your church is a spiritual practice, a spiritual discipline. Your vestry is going to call on you and tell you why we need your money. And they will tell you that it is of special importance this year as you prepare to call a new rector, to be able to afford a new rector, and to be able to show the candidates that you're in it for the long haul. But I will tell you that this spiritual practice makes your recognition of thanksgiving something outward and visible to you. It is a sign of right relationship to God. Your vestry will tell you that we need you to make a pledge rather than just ad hoc putting a $20 bill in the plate on Sunday morning or whatever else you feel called to drop in the plate. But I want you to know that the sacrament, if we are doing this as a sacrament, it is not a pledge to the church. The sacrament is that you make a pledge to God. You do that through an assessment and an acknowledgement of thanksgiving and a commitment for the future. What you tell the vestry when they call on you, that is simply a report on the commitment that you have made to the one from whom all blessings flow. The good and faithful servant, the one that was invited into the joy of his master, is the one who is in right relationship with God. And I am thankful that we have a sacrament for that. Amen.